Fire away, guys.
Coach, the schedule takes a big jump this year, kind of, a nice escalation from November into a really tough all Power 5 in December. Is that the way you want it? Is this a reflection of your schedule that you like to have?
Yeah, sometimes they lay out differently just according to sometimes the dates you can get and previously scheduled things that are coming up that you got to hold a lot of dates for. So sometimes, it may look a little different as a strategic. This year's schedule just kind of laid out that way where you're at home a little bit early in November and then you just start, ripping away in December. But, for the last couple seasons as the league has expanded, as we've kind of gotten into some of the contracted events, it seems like our Decembers have always been really loaded with the high major games. But in this year in particular, I think starting with Florida State, finishing the end of the month with Arkansas, mixing in 2 Big Ten games, we're really going to be on the hustle, so to speak, from December on.
Did last season have any kind of impact on the way that you did non-conference scheduling this season?
No, if you look at our non-conference schedule, that was a strength. We scheduled a non-conference schedule last year that put us in a situation that if the season ends on January 1st, we're a highly seeded team in the NCAA tournament, with quality wins and played on the road. We did a lot of things. This year's non-conference, although maybe mapped out a little different, I suspect will come into the same realm that if we do our part, that's a non-conference schedule that not only puts you in a tournament but gets you a seed. That's what we try to strive for. So there's some games in there that maybe aren't as headliner, whether that be a Princeton, which maybe picked to win the Ivy. That's a hard game. They had a win at Arizona State last year, and we scheduled a La Tech that's been 20 wins, I don't know how many years in a row in the last 5 or 6 seasons. So we're bringing in some teams, I think, from a numbers perspective to keep us in that ballpark of seeding. And then when you look at the Florida States, the Arkansas, the UConns on the neutral with Notre Dame, again, neutral. 20 Big Ten games, our league being as good as it is, I think the schedule overall will line up right where we want it.
You like 20 games?
What's that?
You like a 20-game conference schedule?
Yeah, I think 20 games is, it's a lot. It really is. I think you look at the wear and the tear on the teams that go through the league. It's hard. You go through a lot. But with the competition level that we play against, it's just 2 more quality games that are on your schedule and 2 more opportunities to play against whatever team it is on that day, however you look at it. So to me, the Big Ten was on the forefront of that. The league was forward-thinking. First team to go to 20. More conferences are now going to fill in. I won't be surprised in 3 or 4 years if every Power 5 league isn't sitting at 20. So we're not going to be any different than anyone else, but it gives our league another opportunity to put Big Ten basketball, out in the forefront, which is a good thing.
As you're coming into your 3rd year, is there any difference in preparation that you've gone through since you've come to Indiana, and does the personnel change that?
Our teams have been different since I've been here. Inheriting one, getting a lot of influx of new players last year. This year, adding some new players. We're bringing back our returning guys that have played some minutes now. So they've all been different. They've all been built different, but our preparation isn't any different. You plan very, very hard in the off season to build your team a certain way and be able to play a certain style with that group. For us, we have to be the best we've ever been in terms of our staff and being able to execute that plan. And our players got to be able to respond to that plan and get the most out of it. And the thing I like about this team a little bit more so than every guy on our team can play. There's not one guy from Armand Franklin, who's on his first way in, to Duran or Devontae, who are on their last rung. All these guys can play, and I think they all feel like they can contribute and impact the team. The key will be chemistry, and guys being unselfish and understanding that certain nights require certain lineups or whatever it may be. But we have a lot of versatility. We have a lot of guys who can play, and to me, this team's going to be built with our speed and our ability to play inside. With a lot of those guys and certain combinations that get out there. But there shouldn't be a day that we feel apprehensive about putting a guy in the game. I think we should feel confident in all of our guys that we have the deepest team that we've had since we've been here.
With Devontae being voted team co-captain, how's that enhance his leadership role kind of going forward?
The players vote. We like to do it that way where the coaches don't have a say. And when your teammates speak, sometimes the locker room means a little bit more than the coaches. And I think when you're voted as a captain, to me, the confidence of your team, the voice of your teammates speaks volumes. Devontae is a talented player. Everyone on our team, I think, respects that. I think they're going to expect him to be very productive this year on the floor with no questions, answered. And he's going to have to be there every day, like he has from the end of the season all the way until right now. He's as good as there is in terms of where he's at right now from where he's been in terms of every day, the weight room, more vocal, our conditioning plan, how he's attacked that, where he's at the start of the season in practice. So, to me, it speaks volumes that his teammates, voted him. But he knows right now this is his time, and he's going to have a lot of rope. He's got to do a great job with it.
You said that he's in the best mental position you've seen. I guess, can you elaborate on that a little bit? What's different about him right now?
Just look at the things that he's chosen to value. Each player values different things differently. Not everybody wakes up and says, I love to lift weights today. Not everybody wakes up and says, this conditioning program is not for me. To me, he's really embraced every challenge that we've got. He's had the best and most productive fall or preseason that he's had. And I think this summer he did a nice job. And if you look at him, he's going to have to play a couple different roles for us this year. Not only is he going to have to handle the ball and do some things that he's done in the past, but Devontae's a natural scorer. He views himself like that, and he's going to have to score the ball for us this year as well.
Al Durham was the other guy that won. Al Durham was the other captain announced. What led to his confidence level on now?
I think Al's a great teammate. I think every guy that's been around him now, from our coaching staff to the players, really respect the way that he goes about his business. He cares about the guys on his team. There's not a guy on the team that wouldn't say a positive word about him. So it goes into a great teammate. And then he really works hard. I mean, he's the hardest working guy. He's been around a long time. Loves to work on his own game. You can see his improvements physically and where he's come from to be able to handle. But as he enters his junior year, he's prepared. He's ready to go. And I feel like Al's set up to, obviously lead our group by example. But also, Al's not afraid to speak his mind because I think he has the respect of his teammates.
Talk about more ball movement this year. Is that due to more personnel change or philosophy change?
I would go, personnel change is one thing, but philosophy change. I think it's not that we're changing, it's that we have to evolve. We have to become more of what we aspire to be. And to me, that's having a lot of guys that you recruit that have a lot of different types of talents that can blend well. You're looking for versatility, multifaceted guys. We have that. And you know what? We got to play that way. The ball's got to move. Got to have a lot of different guys that can contribute. To me, maybe there's not headliners on the paper that everyone's looking at. Maybe there's a lot of guys like that. And I'm hopeful that this team gets the most out of everything rather than one or two or three guys that you can say, boy, these guys are their main guys. Maybe we have a lot of guys that contribute. To me, that's a team that can be dangerous in this league because you need a lot of different contributions on a given night in this conference because it's so hard.
Talk about the front court being a strength, the front court being a strength for you guys, but who do you think you hit the threes to make sure other teams aren't just packing it in against you?
Well, I think there's two guys that hopefully, knock on wood, that can become more bona fide shooters for us in Demezy Anderson. I think Jerome Hunter being on the perimeter, being on the wing area of having another guy. Both those guys have to contribute from the three-point line. They're good at it. I think our guard core's got to be able to shoot the ball better. If you look at over the course of time, when we've had our big wins or had opportunities to play well, we've had perimeter scoring. We've had perimeter guys make threes. If you just take some of the games, whether it's Michigan State on the road or at home, multi-number of games where you hit 10-plus threes. That's a big deal in college basketball, is being able to shoot it. And if you look at Robert, Devontae, Al, even Armand coming in as a young player, add Jerome and add Demezy. Those guys, those six players, they have to be able to keep the defense honest, and they're all good shooters, so they should be able to do it. But our front court's a big strength. We've got to be able to play through them and hopefully giving us the three-point shot or protecting the paints, maybe more so what teams try to do to us, and that's where it's going to be a big key, is be, like I said, be able to alleviate pressure from the line. But we have better shooters this year individually, and those guys have a lot more confidence right now, and being able to take and make threes is something that we're encouraging.
If I remember right, Al Durham was part of the recruiting class that was committed when you were coach. What's the difference between the Al Durham that you talked to then versus the Al Durham that was just captain?
Well, I think Al's, like I said, he's a coachable guy, but he's a great teammate, and getting to know him in a short order before we got to, really spend a lot of time recruiting him and whatnot, I figured out he comes from a great family, and he's a great kid, and he loves to work the right way. I think over the course of time, he's stayed with what we've tried to emphasize. And through year 1 to 2, he's been an everyday guy. He's been a guy that we count on to do it and show the right way to do things on and off the floor. And as he comes into his junior year, I look at a very mature college junior, a guy that's played a lot, yes, but a guy that's well-versed on the floor, off the floor. And he's a guy that looks, to me like a guy that's really evolved under us in terms of understanding exactly what to do.
You mentioned Jerome, someone that you possibly count on. He's been through a lot of hardships physically, obviously we know about. Realistically, how soon do we expect him to be to that level where he can really be contributing on a regular basis?
I think you'd look at most young guys and you would hope that they get their feet wet and they're able to go through a foot by the, so to speak, throw them in the fire. Then you figure out you get the Big Ten play and it's all off. All bets are off. Whatever you do in non-conference does not matter when you hit our league. Our league is a unique league where it all starts over and you just start hammering each other right in the face. And to me, that's when the mental makeup of a young player comes in. So Jerome hasn't been through any of that. I know he's very, very eager and hopeful that he's able to be the guy that everyone thinks he can, but he's got a long way to go. He's rusty. I would say from a conditioning element and just understanding what a game feels like, he still hasn't gotten through that. So I have tempered expectations on him because I think he's going to go through a lot of newness with that. With that being said, we're pushing him hard right now. He's pushing himself hard, and we're expecting him to contribute to this team. And you know what? Barring any unforeseen, step backs, that's how he approaches things right now. And he's better this week in practice than he wasn't last week. And he was, far cry in October last year, a month under his belt than he was when he started. So he's just like all these other young guys, but he's got some things that you can't teach. He can score the ball a lot of different ways. He's competitive. He's got some toughness about him. He's got an edge about him. And he's very, very hungry to play after being sat out, after watching that. So he's got a lot of motivation behind him, which is a positive. And we want to use that. But also, to me, he's only going to be as good as we allow him to work through it.
Archie, you talked about Devontae being in the best mental place he's been in. Do you think the suspension he went through last spring affected that at all? And if so, what do you think it taught him?
I'm sure it did. It's not easy to go through something like that. He went through it, and he moved on from it, and he finished the season as well as any player in our league. So let's just take that for the first step of a response. I think he's used his off season to kind of move through it again, and he's in a good place right now in his fall in terms of how he's approached things. So if you ask how he responded, do I think he responded well? Yes.
Ron obviously has had injury issues over the last few years. Is there anything you do in terms of practice or fluid management to try to keep him healthy, or you just think it's a fluke and just hope he'll be all right?
Before I got here, I think Deron dealt with a little bit, but in his sophomore year leading into January through December, he had his best, his healthiest time. He's a season-ending injury, which is a hard injury for anybody, but making that comeback last year to him to get to the floor was hard. From an October to a November where he started to play to a December where he was in and out a little bit, that was trial and error with him coming off that injury. I think January, with an ankle and the lower body injuries that he had, he took some time to recoup in the middle of the year, which was a tough blow for us. But as you saw him come back in February, he showed his glimpses of him being himself. He's had a healthy offseason. Right now, as he comes into the start of practice, I think to me, mentally he's ready to roll. Physically, he's got to get through a couple things that all guys do here early in the year, nicks, bruises, or whatever. He's just got that type of body that's going to, be one of which you have to manage a little bit. But we want Deron for the long haul, so whatever we have to do to get him there, that's the most important thing. And right now, last year at this time, he was 275. This year at this time, he's in the low 250s. So he's obviously in a better place. And, for us, Deron heading into gameplay and heading into the season, it's not about October 1st. It's about getting him ready for that November, December, and then into conference play. We'll need Deron in that Big Ten bulk of the season because that's when a guy like Deron, that's when his weight carries gold because, one, he's got a great physical presence that you need in this league.
Coach, how much importance do you place on verbal leadership, and who do you think those guys are? I know you mentioned Joey. Is there anyone else standing out to you?
Well, like I talked about Rob, and I think all of our guard play, but Rob in particular, being a point guard, has got to be able to have a voice, a reason, sometimes of getting your guys together or whatever it may be, but the point guard's got to have a voice. So I think guys who are playing that position with Al and Devontae, they got to be able to do it. I think a guy like Joey's a natural-born voice, loud guy. It's great to have that type of, energy level around all the time. That's contagious, so we need that. But, your older players got to find a way to impact the team with their voice. it's been a big part of this group in general is communication, not just on the floor but off the floor. You have to have a group that's willing to talk and has a deep relationship with one another, finds a way to connect with one another. So that's communication as well. But no question, is there a Pied Piper? I don't know. You got to constantly try to evolve that, and hopefully more guys can grab the reins.
Last season, you talked about how Rob was very mature as a freshman in that position. How have you seen him grow this season going into sophomore year?
Again, talking, being more vocal in other areas. Whether you're in a weight room group with him, whether you're in conditioning, you hear him talk. He's no longer that silent assassin, so to speak, that takes care of himself and doesn't worry about anything else. Now it's bigger than that. He's got to be thinking about other people. He's got to be thinking about the group. It's always got to be, so to speak, the pulse. So Rob is one of those guys that, to me, an added skill to his game is not only just the basketball, but it's the leadership capabilities.
Obviously, with the three-point line being pushed back a little bit, do you feel like defensively with the scheme you guys play, also the size you have, that's advantageous with the line being pushed back? Do you guys have plays in your hands?
I'm not sure. We're going to approach our defense the same. We've always been a team that prides itself on obviously defending the three. Part of the defending the three is being good on offense and not giving the team a lot of transition opportunities, or being organized and being able to get back and keep the game in the half court. That's two. And I think the third thing is, protecting the paint. When you're a team that can really protect the paint and make things hard on the inside, hopefully you take challenge shots. So we're always going to be the same there, and we're a team that's going to teach our defense the same regardless of where the line is. The line will have an impact on some guys, it will have an impact, on others very little, but to me, we haven't put too much thought in how the line moving back a foot or whatever it is going to impact the defense.
It's hard for freshmen to make impact in the Big Ten, but Trace Jackson-Davis is someone that you're probably going to rely on quite a bit. What do you need him to do, and what do you need to get out of him this season?
Yeah, Trace is going to play a pivotal role in us. He's a young player that's very talented, that's bringing a lot to the table, in terms of size, athleticism. But he has some different things that you can't teach. Timing around the basket, blocking shots, timing, finishing. Everything with him is finishing, in and around the basket, off the floor is quick. What he's got to do is learn how hard it is to, the longevity of a season, the longevity of a month of practice, the everyday grind. But we have high hopes for Trace. He's exceeded my expectations as a freshman here in the fall with how he's worked, with what he's not really stubbed his toe on in terms of what I thought maybe some bumps in the road that would knock him off course. He hasn't done that. Armand as well. Those two guys as two true freshmen coming in have really responded in the challenges here early. They're going to hit walls. Trace is a guy, though, that has to impact the game with his athleticism, running, moving, jumping, blocking shots, rebounding the ball. But, in and around scoring, part of him scoring the ball early in his career is going to be, finishing off of, the break and doing some things, pick and rolls. But Trace can impact our team in a big, big way. He is a live body right now, and to me, I'm really, really excited to watch how he grows.
Is that a harder transition for a freshman? Is the game itself, not the competition level, but the actual game and all that goes with it, the length of the season, the grind on that?
Yeah, without question. I think you can take any sophomore that's just started their sophomore year and moves in. They're just so much more prepared because they know. The biggest challenge as a freshman, whether you're Romeo Langford or Rob Finney or Trace Jackson-Davis or Armand Franklin, is what you're going through for the first time. It's just hard. And the Big Ten is not an easy league because, to me, it's a league that prides itself on systems and style of play and cultures with older players, and you run into guys that have been doing it a lot longer than you. That being said, when you're as talented as a guy like Trace, sometimes you hope that trumps some of that learning curve, that he has such great ability. But Trace is as talented as a guy as I've been around, and he's got a great attitude. He's a great kid, and we're excited to have him. But I also will throw even Armand in there as a true freshman. He's really, really done a nice job. He has a chance to really be a part of what we're doing right now early in the year. And to me, as those guys help, they make us better. As they get older in January and February, you see two guys that have a chance to have great careers.
You've seen that Demezy Anderson a couple times as a guy who can help you guys from a shooting standpoint and just playing more in his second year. What gives you the confidence enough to kind of single him out like that?
Partly off of the first, the question I just answered. He's so much more prepared mentally to know what he's dealing with. He knows what practice feels like. He knows what the preseason's all about now. He comes in knowing what to see in the Big Ten because he's there every day. And he's a better player right now. He's a much more mature guy. He's much more adept, and he's much more mentally knowing and understanding about what's going on. All college players should have that gift of 1 year under your belt just to see what it looks like as a second year. It's so much more fun. And it's more fun to coach, him right now because he knows what's going on. So, but without question, one of the gifts he has is he can shoot the ball. The thing is, moving into this year, he's much bigger. He's 6'6", he's 220. He's a bigger player, so he's got to be able to defend his position a little better. Taking care of the ball is always something with him. Learning, what to do without, not trying to do too much. But I think he'll adapt. I think he'll find his way, and he's going to play a pivotal role as a sophomore for us.
Any early thoughts on Justin Smith, especially if he's developed some skills to move out a little bit on the perimeter more for you this year?
Justin's a guy who's played in every game as a college player, so he has experience under his belt. What we need from Justin, to be honest with his leadership. Justin's got to be a guy that's used all that experience to help his teammates. Expressing himself more in form of leadership and togetherness and team. That's a big thing for him. He is so talented and so gifted that on any given night he could do something that is a Sports Center highlight. What we need from him is more of that blue-collar approach. He's a defender. I think he can be as good as anybody in our league, defending multiple positions. Offensively, he's got to play to his strengths. He's got to get out in transition, which means he's got to run hard. He's got to attack the glass, which when he does, it really impacts the game. And in some of our big wins, he's been a big part of what we're doing. So I think early on, understanding how important a role he plays, he's got to accept that and got to try to be who he is. And at the end of the day, play to win. Those are big things for him.
You still give him a green light to shoot? You still give Justin Smith a green light to shoot?
All of our players have a green light to what they earn. Justin's a guy that's going to have to find a way to keep the team, the defense honest. But with where we're playing, I think he's going to move all around. Putting him in a position to be successful is important.
He seems like a really intellectual guy. Does he overthink it too much? He said the other day that he's too hard on himself at times. I can see that visibly on the court sometimes. Is that something he needs to work on?
Yeah, I don't know how you work on it. I think you go through it. You are who you are. You're wired how you're wired. And I think you can't allow things as an older player to bother you the way younger players view things. So much one mistake, one missed shot, one bad play can really steamroll young guys. It's just like one loss could steamroll one young guy. When you've been through it, you hope that it's always you're focusing on the next play, winning, and all those things. And I think that's where Justin needs to focus most of his effort level because, as I've said, he's an unbelievable niche in terms of how we play and what he can do to impact the team on both ends. And if Justin's defending the other team's most versatile player, or if he's doing a great job there, if he's hammering the offensive glass, if he's finishing in transition, if he's a live body getting to the foul line, those are great things to have, and I think that's what he's got to value. Sometimes so much of what you value is what you think you should be valuing, and at the end of the day, that impedes winning. So when he impacts winning and he sees how that happens, that's what he's got to be consumed with.
Last year's team was a lot younger than this year's team for the most part. Have you changed how you maybe approach coaching the team at all with the added experience with like two true freshmen this year?
It's definitely a newer team. Last year having 5 true freshmen on the grind, 2 sophomores that really played a ton, and a new guy in Fitzner at the time. We had a lot of new bodies, but I thought that team competed hard at times and showed. What we lacked was maturity. What we lacked was mental toughness, going through adversity, things like that just really hurt you, and it really hurts your ability to keep progressing. Hopefully the returners all understand it, but our new guys understand, and coming in, that's a big part of what you're getting ready to deal with. All the fun and games and all the glamour, social media, you name it, all the good things that come along with being an Indiana player. There's a responsibility to understand that's not what it's about. And I think having a keen sense early on that we're going to deal with adversity, we're going to go with growing pains, those are things that are talked about a lot more with this group, but also coaching them hard. This team's got to be prepared hard. They've got to be coached hard. They've got to be hard on themselves. They have to be competitive with one another, because for us to be at our best on a given night, we should be sitting there talking about different people. We should be talking about different people having different impacts on the game and roles, because like I said, got a lot of guys, in my opinion, I think that can get on the floor and play. So that's a good thing.
Coach McCaffrey mentioned that quite distance might help teams who play zone and pack line. Play pack line. Any thoughts on whether that might help you this longer 3-point line defensively?
Yeah, I mean, when we're good on defense and the three-point shot, or the three-point field goal percentage defense is good, you're taking tough challenge shots or end-of-the-clock threes because you're making a team work, because you're not giving them anything easy in transition, or you're not giving them easy early opportunities. So if you work later in the clock, typically that shot's a little harder. But, I think, teams in general will have a philosophy. I think teams that work deeper into the clock, that make teams shoot challenge threes, maybe it has an impact on it. We'll see. I know they moved the line back a few years ago, and it's kind of like it never was moved back. So I think kids are growing up nowadays, last 5, 6, 7 years, a three-point shot's like a layup. They start shooting that before they do anything else. So, to me, the three-point line, plays a big role, but to me, being able to defend it's a huge thing.
Since you guys have experimented a bit with Al as the primary ball handler, how does that kind of affect your half-court offense when you compare Al running that to Devontae or even Rob doing it?
Al's going to play a lot more point this year. I think it's important that he does. He, to me, can push the ball and he has good tempo. But he looks at me when we talk about it. He knows what's going on. He knows what I'm looking for, and he can really, to me, continue to help our pace. With Devontae, he's a guy that uses a lot of dribbles sometimes, and in cases sometimes he's thinking about scoring. I think maybe Al, as a facilitator and as a guy that continues our pace, can allow Devontae off the ball a little bit more. So I see all three guys playing at the point. I see, me early on here really experimenting with Devontae off the ball as much as it is early in the offense as possible. That gives him a chance to get down the floor. But Al will play off the ball as well. We have a good three-ring kind of circus there a little bit with those three guys. And, Rob, obviously, primary ball handler in his own right, does a good job running our offense.
Are you comfortable with just having 4 scholarship guards?
I don't think you're ever comfortable, but, I think at the end of the day, those guys finding a way, playing a bulk of the minutes will develop great chemistry. They'll have confidence because they know that they're going to contribute and play. And to me, that's as much as anything in this day and age is these guys knowing and understanding their role and playing and keeping a good camaraderie about them. But those 4 guys will play a role, and obviously Justin, Jerome, and Demise filling in on the perimeter a little bit more because we have such a stable, knock on wood, we have a stable of bigs that got to play.
Armand, I guess you got your Iron Man award.
Yeah.
Is that a confidence builder, you think, for him? What's he done to kind of get this shot?
He's impressive, man. He's an impressive kid, on and off the floor. He's a great teammate. Early on, it's very, very evident how likable of a player he's going to be at Indiana. He's not mean enough. He's not tough enough right now. He doesn't talk enough. That's my thing to him. But to go through a fall preseason and to be able to win that award, and to me, you could have had some arguments on who the second guy was, but as a true freshman, to participate 100% in everything that we've done, to be the leader in the 2 main conditioning elements of our fall camp, whether that's non-weight bearing on machines or whether that's running, him to be there, it's very unique to have a true freshman to be able to be your top guy. So to come in the door and find a way to make his mark early, he made his mark. He really did. He set the tone for how he works, the standard that he has for himself. There was no days off, and that's a great thing as a young player. Very few young guys come in and don't struggle early with something or don't have to learn how to work through it. His work capacity, his work ethic, man, it was impressive. So to me, that's a credit to him. But I think now the next step is, as a player, what he's really got to focus in on is taking that one thing and then learning what you want as a coach to get out of him, which to me is the more the vocal one. Like he said, I don't even know what you're talking about half the time. How do you want me to talk about it? Just find a way to talk, you know what I mean? Just say something. You can always say something to be better. So it's a great kid.
Numbers based, or was there some subjective? The award that he got, was it all based on?
Numbers based. There's a lot of numbers that go into the times that you run, the averages that you run on a weekly basis, the times that you, for us working on a Versa Climber machine, whether it's 2 or 3 times a week, the averages that you hit your mark. To me, he was the top guy in a lot of those challenging areas that, a lot of our guys will tell you is very difficult.
talked about the importance of a number of guys needing to contribute each night. When you lose so much scoring like you do from last season to this year, have you try and emphasize to guys that, hey, it doesn't need to be me every night getting out and getting 20 or something like that?
Move the ball. Move the ball, man. Move the ball. The more you share the ball, the more you move the ball, the more you pass it, the more you work with one another, the more guys are going to contribute. That's just the name of the game. That's how it works. And this team has got to be that type of belief. It's got to be that type of eccentric. You have to have possessions and times where it's 5, 6, 7 passes, 8 passes. And then you know what? When you're showing film as a team, the credit is given to the pass. The credit is given to the sharing. It's not the score. We need a group that has a team that scores a lot of points from a lot of different people. And you know what? Maybe that's one guy got 4 or 5 one night on the road. That's a big deal in the Big Ten if you can get somebody to come in there, get 5 or 6. At home, maybe it's 4 guys in double figures. That hasn't happened a ton for us in our tenure. When we've had that, we've won. Maybe it's Devontae and Al having good nights, but maybe it's our front line being able to get to the foul line a ton. A lot of different ways to skin a cat, but this team, ball movement, you know, that's the exciting thing as a staff. It's what you're preaching. It's what you want. It's what everybody hopes that every team is. They move the ball. They share it. They're a team that's fun to watch. That's what we got to be.
Is there a particular reason you think that your past Indiana teams haven't maybe moved the ball as well as you would have liked?
You know, I don't know. I think, you know, each team's built a little bit differently. You know, in some cases, you know, the philosophy and the emphasis of what we were trying to do, you know, at times created great shots. They didn't go in, so you don't see it as much. You know, sometimes the open ones got to go down. You know, in our last 2 years, open shots has been a big thing where, man, just wish the open ones would go in every once in a while. People would be talking about your assist rate going up, or, you know, your field goal percentage offense. Wow, they're shooting a high percentage. You know, a lot of it is, you know, make the open ones. You know, make your free throws. You know what I mean? We've been a poor free throw shooting team in our last year. We spent a lot of time as a team in the offseason with our free throw approach. And, you know, a guy like Al, you know, in this offseason, he shot 92%. Shot 92% from the line as a guy in this offseason. You know, he should go into the season really feeling good about that. So for us, you know, I don't think we've ever not stressed certain things. I think, you know, we got to get some productivity in certain of those areas. And part of it is, you know, you look at some of our backcourt guys, you know, when they're open, they hitting 2 a game, 1, 2 a game. That's not an alarming number in this day and age in college. You know, some guys are making 4 or 5 threes a game. We're asking our guys to take open ones and make them. So, you know, high assist team requires guys to make shots, you know, and we got to get some guys to step up and, you know, make the ones that are capable of making.
Going back a couple of years, you got your first job as a coaching intern, right, with Herb Sendek?
Yeah.
What were the conversations that led to getting that opportunity?
I was playing for him as a senior in college, and he was asking me what I was going to do, and I was basically telling him, you're going to give me a job. I'm out here busting my tail for you. You need to give me a job, right? I knew I wanted to be in college basketball because that was, as a player, you know, my relationships, you know, having a brother that coached in college. I thought the college game is where I wanted to be. I got an opportunity